Hope in Eastern Europe, what the EU can learn from Lithuania. In the interview, Lithuanian President Dalia Grybauskaite.
Congratulations, Mrs. President. You have been awarded the Karls Prize to honor what you have done for European unity. Are you proud of it?
I'm proud for my people because I treat this award to Lithuania, not to me personally.
Mrs. Grybauskaite, the European Union is in its deepest crisis ever. There are voices that warn if the euro crisis gets worse that it might break up the entire EU. Do you share this view?
Never. It is not euro crisis. It is the financial and economic crisis in some member states. For example, Baltic states, we already recovered and we're growing in the face of more than 3% GDP. So that means mainly how I evaluate, of course it is global things which started to influence Europeans' finances and economy, but mainly it is crisis of irresponsible political decisions, which have been few decades going on, and here the main reasons of it.
We'll be talking about the EU in crisis later in depth. Let's first take a brief look at your career in politics. You have been Lithuanian president since the summer of 2009. Before you served as a minister in many different cabinets. But you're not a member of a political party. Why not?
Personally, I have allergy to political membership in any political party because I was supposed to be in one party 23 years ago, so now I try to avoid it. I think that if you work as a professional and do well your job, you can do it no matter in what political affiliation you are.
But what kind of politician did the Lithuanians get when they made you their head of state? Many label you a conservative. Is that right? Is that the way you see yourself?
No, I don't think I'm conservative or socialist. As I said, ideologically, I try not to be affiliated with anybody. I do what is necessary to do for country, and I never treat myself as poor politician. Always try to be professional, and what I do, try to do the best I can.
Can you name a statesman who was, or perhaps still is, a kind of role model for you?
A lot. I was interested very much in leadership myself, was reading historical and biographical books, starting from Gandhi, Churchill, Thatcher, Merkel now. A lot of people can inspire if you look to the history seriously.
You grew up in the Soviet Union, you mentioned it already, and you became an economist. Then you were a teacher at a college which was run by the Communist Party. What did you do when you understood that the things you teach your students might be wrong?
I was teaching only economics and history of economic mind. So there was nothing bad about it. We started, for example, my lessons were going from Aristotle's theories up to Marxism. So that was curiosity for me and was very interesting what I was doing myself. So also I was teaching history of money, of the world monies, starting from small coins, as for example, Charlemagne price copy, up to the internet and artificial monies, what we have now as hedge funds or instruments. So I was purely economist, and I think already at that time I was teaching only objective messages and theories.
Lithuania is one of the 3 Baltic states that emerged from the Soviet Union. Those 3 countries joined NATO and the European Union 10 years ago in 2004. 9 years ago. Moscow now today still seems to be reluctant to accept this entirely. Is Russia still a threat to your country?
I think that still 9 years are not so large time for nations, for their mentality, for their history. For the sensitivities we have between neighbors, for the historic pains we had between our neighbors, and why still some sensitivities exist. Especially we feel it via militarization around our borders, we feel it with economic pressures, especially by energy prices. So still sensitivities are in place. But I was told once that neither 10, neither 20 years is not enough. Maybe we need 40 years for generations to change, for this sensitive memories to be gone, to be able to cooperate with our neighbors on equal footing with respect to each other.
Let's go to the EU and move to Brussels. The EU itself seems not to be too popular these days with Europeans. Some polemics even compare Brussels to the former Soviet Union, describing the EU as an over-centralized sort of super state.
I think I can say that these people who say that never been in Soviet Union. So we know what that means, and of course Brussels or European Union is a union of member states which was organized by goodwill and peacefully without forcing anybody to go to this union. So why all decisions in union we're doing ourselves, that means in the council, heads of member states of each country, we together deciding, we're taking responsibility, and it's our decisions what Europe will be in future. So nobody enforced us, neither one country is dominating, it is our decision, common decision about everything what we're deciding. So to compare European Union with Soviet type, I think it's more a propaganda element which is coming from some other areas outside European Union.
But at the same time, fear of too much integration is widespread. Look at Britain, they are going to have an in or out referendum. How much damage would it cause if the UK left the EU?
I don't want to speculate on bad things, and it's up to any country to decide on its own future, but even for Britain, even for anybody, union was created to help each other, to have peace, prosperity and security in the world. Of course, if crisis is taking too long, people sometimes losing patience. During any crisis, the anti-European or anti-governmental moods are increasing, but sometimes our national politicians using and looking for excuse somewhere outside. And it is easier to say some Brussels, but what means Brussels? There is no Brussels as it is. It is member states, head of member states who are sitting and deciding in Brussels, just only place, the name of place, but European Union is a unity of member states.
In these times of crisis, the German Chancellor, Ms. Merkel, is often severely criticized for her firm stance on austerity and budget consolidation. Has Germany become too dominant within the EU?
I think it is a little bit perception about Germany now done also partly on purpose, because Germany never been only for very strict measures. It's about both. The economy, economizing the expenditures, but also the stimulus needs and structural reform need to go intact. And this is how Germany is saying and behaving. But of course it is easier failing on national arena to look for somebody to blame. And here exactly what I'm seeing, that some national unresponsible behavior for decades in some member states now tries to be put on the shoulders of responsibility of one or another country. But Germany in this situation is taking very responsible steps. And Chancellor is responsible to the German people also. She cannot allow to use German people's money to bail out some member states who do not do any homework and do not do their structural reforms and are not taking responsibility by themselves.
How difficult was it for you to convince your Lithuanians of the necessity of cuts and of austerity?
It was not easy, but the main thing is to explain, to be trusted. If you say, that means you are saying what reality and what real situation is. Second, you need to take burden of cuts fastly on your own. I mean, for people in political elite and who is earning the most. Trying to protect the least protected social groups of people, and to be a personal example, to cut your salary, to return part of your salary to treasury, to fly on cheap flights, whatever it takes to be an example.
If we look at the EU as a whole, you have the northern countries led by Germany, and you have on the other hand a sort of Latin belt led by France. Do you agree that the euro crisis is revealing a split of completely opposing political cultures?
I don't want to exaggerate it, and I again never using that it is a euro crisis. It is a global financial crisis, yes. Partly it is state debt crisis, yes. But it's not euro crisis. So why? It is about business mentality, about business practices, about political responsibility, which is dominates in one or other countries. Yes, sometimes we can see common elements, more common in Nordic countries, in Germany, than, let's say, some behavior or history of political behavior in some other countries. But I don't want to generalize. I think that each country is different. That's how Europe is about, but we always were able to find joint agreements, at least frameworks, how we are working together. We cannot dictate to any country to do exactly that way, that one size fits all. That's not possible. Any methods, any features how to fight crisis needs to be familiarized and customized to the country's history, country's mentality, how politics is going, so you cannot do everything in the same way, but general requirements, general responsibility, general targets needs to be more or less the same.
Mrs. President, your favorite sports is karate. You hold
not only basketball also. I'm Lithuanian. How without basketball?
But you hold a black belt in martial arts. Does it help when you do politics?
I think that yes, because it's not about just pure martial arts. It is about philosophy of life. It's about methods, how you work, and discipline, including discipline and self-discipline in your life.
Dalia Grybauskaite, President of Lithuania, thank you very much for joining us on Deutsche Welle.
Thank you. Okay.